We're back into ranked. We're playing the optimal version, so that's the one we've had the most success with here. This is basically saying full Fable. Can't not play this card in Pioneer, even though, you know, it's a balanced and format that doesn't need any changes, but every deck must run Fable of the Mirror Breaker. We've got Leyline Binding for removal, full set of Niv, Supreme Verdict as the wipe, Kaito and Edgar as our threats. We have Cosmic Rebirth to rebuy threats that get discarded, Clarion for the Weenie decks, removal, Wandering Mind to dig, then Exile effects, removal, and Slight Dig effect here, and Growth Spiral for ramp. So from that we have Thoughtseizes Alpine Moon for the Nykthos decks. We have Veto for control, Fatal Push for Weenie, Mystics for control, more wipes, and more for the grindier matchups. Well, let's take it into ranked and see how this deck does. Alright, this was a long set. So let's get started here. Our first opponent, Cemetery's Wind. Yes, so this is a long set because I don't know why, but it might be that all the control players are just out today. Opening hand, we keep it on the premise that this could be a creature-based matchup, but the blue-white lands indicate otherwise. So, passing the turn, wait for them to make their play. Play a tap land, which is also the Jawadi Disruption. So this is clearly a control deck. So let's get some advantage going and put pressure on them. Make them use their answers. We play Fable. Opponent plays Lotus Field. I've noticed a lot of control decks are using the Lotus Field and the turn combo, which I think isn't the most efficient use of their abilities. We lure away 2 wipes that have no effect here and draw 2 land, which in this case is okay. We swing in with the Fable, make a treasure. We have 2 answers to anything they might do crazy. Right, synergy here. If you are in a situation where you're up against a control player who's doing this with the Lotus Field, little trick, wait till Fable flips. Play this, hold on to your Assassin's Trophies. Swing in with the Goblin Shaman. This is tech I use against Lotus Field combo. When they move to copy the Thespian stage here, respond with the Assassin's Trophy. They have a floating mana, so they might be able to do something. Like here, they cycle a Sensor, but it prevents them going up to 6 mana. And it also messes with them because a lot of these decks are built around untapping the land with Teferi for insane value. They drop a Hallowed Fountain tapped. We'll crack a Fabled Passage, grabbing a Forest, and then we'll cycle another Trio here. Find a Tyrant Scorn. Tyrant Scorn's not the best in this matchup, but we could use him to bounce our own threats in response to a board wipe. I'm going to immediately copy the Goblin here because I just want more treasure just in case they're doing anything. Also, it might bait them out to respond. Swing in with our Goblin Shamans, make 2 treasures. And our intention here is literally to try and ride the Fables to victory. Opponent's turn, they Memory Deluge. Sorry, in our end step, they Memory Deluge. Finding 2 cards. Opponent plays a second Lotus Field and goes for a discontinuity, so they're ramping up here and they've ended their turn. On our turn, we find a Wandering Mind, which is perfect here. So, shock in a Sacred Foundry, deploy our Wandering Mind, finds us a Kaito, and that's going to be great. So we'll play Kaito. We will draw a card with Kaito, then use Reflections to copy Wandering Mind to get another copy of Wandering Mind, grabbing a Cosmic Rebirth in case they board wipe. Swing in with our 2 tokens, bounce the Wandering Mind to reactivate Kaito here. If we get them low enough, Kaito drones can be what will take us to victory here. Our opponent responds with another Thespian stage, so they have all the mana in the universe they could ever want. They respond with Farewell, getting rid of everything but the graveyards. So in response, we'll bounce the Reflections. And since these treasures are going, we might as well just use the second one here to bounce the Wandering Mind. We still have a Kaido here, and they want to hold up mana to copy their Lotus Field again. So we're just gonna redeploy our threats here. So get Fable down. We'll get it in the order we want it to resolve. Use Wandering Mind after that. Wandering Mind finds us a Leyline Binding in case we see a scary Teferi. We'll throw out a drone here. They're reading the drone because they've probably never seen it before, but we are really close to killing them here. They have 3 Lotus Fields, they have 11 mana available. They play a tapped Hall of the Storm Giants. And they go for the Doomscar. So we lose the drone, but that drains them down to 6. Eventually. This is my biggest frustration. If you're going to play Control, at least please learn how to play it at a moderate speed. I'm not kidding, when I ended this match, I'm pretty sure I had double the time left of my opponent. Cosmic Rebirth will rebuy the Wandering Mind in their end step. Finds us another Cosmic Rebirth, just in case we lose anything else. Opponent considers, we go to our second, to Fable, the Mirror Breaker, and they use Discontinuity to end our turn. I'm fine with that. We untap to our opponent. They play a land, play a Shark Typhoon. We have ways to answer it. So we'll go to their end step. We'll use the Leyline Binding first. They respond with Memory Deluge, make a Shark. They get 2 cards. I literally do nothing for ages, so we'll play this Leyline Binding. I tell them you'll go because this is beyond ridiculous how long they're taking. They soul petition their own Shark Typhoon so they can get it back later and make another blocker. So in response then, I'm going to Vanishing Verse the 4/4 so it's gone. Then I'm looking at my graveyard, I don't have any permanents I really want back. We flip the Saga, plus Kaito so the Shark can't attack or block. Swing in with the Wandering Mind, put him down to 4 here. We'll bounce the Wandering Mind back to our hand. Play the Wandering Mind. We find nothing, so we'll just see what happens from there. We'll use Kaido to draw another card here. We find a Niv Mizzet, so we're tapped out, so we'll deploy this immediately. Reload, and we find another Kaito and a Colligan's Command. So we've pretty much got this wrapped up now, because so the Shark can't attack, so the only option here is to board wipe. However, if they board wipe, we can't do anything in the end step, but if we get to untap, we can Kaito, make a drone, play another Kaito, make another drone, and then they either die when these drones leave the battlefield, or they have to make infinite chomp blockers forever to try and stop us from killing them with that. They Doomscar, getting rid of the entire board. They have 2 mana left, so first things first, let's use this Kaito, make a drone. Opponent just literally sits here thinking about how they made a mistake in life by playing Control and how they don't have the brain power to do it. We'll make another drone here. We don't need to play a land, so I'm considering passing, but then I figure let's just do this anyway. Destroy an artifact, 2 damage, kill both our drones. They've got to save our board presence with one of their answers if they want to keep it. Cycle the Censor. Unless they can instantly gain life here, I don't think they can stop us, so boom, drain it down to 0. Right, Veto's in, Thoughtseize is in, Mystical Dispute's in, Alpine Moon's in. Alpine Moon is a good answer to Lotus Field or the Nykthos, so we'll get rid of those. Scorns were pretty decent, but not the best here. We'll take out our board wipes, and we will bring in our Invasion, just in case we get more on the back end. Right, opponent's going first. Look, I'm not ragging on all control players. Control players are great and they've got to exist. It's just, please play faster. We got a mulligan because we don't have our answer here. This is an okay hand. We at least have a Thoughtseize into a Leyline Binding early to answer a threat. Let's Thoughtseize to see what our opponent is working with. I don't care about the Change the Equation or the Soul Petition. I probably want to take away the Memory Deluges because they're going to use these to dig into greater effects. We play the Jetmir's Garden here. They play Hallowed Farmland. I basically decide here I'm going to get blue mana first, just in case we draw anything more. And I'm also going to use the Fabled Passage here, just in case they have an end of turn effect that could basically be land destruction while we're fetching. They play the Thespian Stage, so they have the mana now. We draw a veto, so I'm going to play the Stomping Ground tapped because it's very clear they want to end that Memory Deluge, but I want to limit their options as much as possible, so no card selection for you. Now we have some giveaway until they get up to 7 mana. They find a Teferi, which is scary. However, none of their cards in hand answer, so we're going to shock in this, play the Leyline Binding because we've got the mana to redeploy that with the Soul Petition, even if they use it. However, it means we've got to play it carefully here. We can't give them an opening to Soul Petition, get back to Fairy, get activations. Opponent's turn. Play another Hallowed Farmland. We'll move to our end step here. We can Growth Spiral on the end step. We'll put a Watery Grave tapped. We draw a Kaito here, so what we're going to do, we're going to use Wandering Mind first, see if this eats any kind of interaction. Nope. We find another veto, so we'll hold on to this because they probably want to use a 7 mana Memory Deluge pretty soon. We draw a Thoughtseize, which is perfect, so let's Thoughtseize their hand, see what they're dealing with. Honestly, I'm going to take the Soul Petition, checking this, just so I don't have to worry about holding up for the Leyline Binding again. I could play Kaito here, but that would eat a Censor and then I wouldn't be able to hit the veto. So we're going to memory, they try for Memory Deluge, we counter that with veto. Opponent's turn again. They play a Lotus Field. Copy it with the Thespian Stage here. Sack 2 lands. They have 4 mana up here, so they can't Memory Deluge, and we know what's in their hand. So now it's time to deploy the Kaito. They cycle the Censors, don't even force us to play it, so we'll draw a card with Kaito. Find another Wandering Mind, we'll hit them with the existing one, bounce the Wandering Mind to hand, get another activation, so we'll make a drone here. And then redeploy the Wandering Mind. If our opponent is forced, wow, 6 lands. I'm glad we used the Wandering Mind there. They play another Thespian Stage here. We play a land. We'll draw another card with Kaito. Or we attempt to, they go for a Memory Deluge, we'll Growth Spiral. We find a Cosmic Rebirth, which is another good answer if they board wipe in our next turn. So digging 7 deep, you get to put 2 cards into hand. We draw with a Kaito, find a Hallowed Fountain, we'll hit for 4 here. They flash in a Wandering Emperor. We hit for that. We're going to bounce the Wandering Mind so that they can't use the Wandering Emperor on it. We'll 0 again to draw another card. We'll redeploy the Wandering Mind. That finds us an Alpine Moon, so we'll deploy this right away. So this will mean that the Lotus Field will lose the ability to tap for 3 mana. And also lose Hexproof and its ETB. They make a Samurai. So we basically cut out their mana here. They swing in, we'll offer the trade, and they take it. They make another Samurai here with the Emperor. play another Lotus Field. All its abilities are turned off with the Alpine Moon. So we'll play a land here, plus Kaito, so the Samurai can't attack or block. We'll use the drone here to kill off the Emperor, unless they respond to this. They do have another Memory Deluge. In response to that, I'm going to Cosmic Rebirth, get back the Wandering Mind, see if I can find more answers. I find a K command and a Vanishing Verse. I choose the K command here because it's another way to get back the Wandering Mind if they kill it again. I'm holding a Wandering Mind back in our hand because it's better not to deploy everything. I'm thinking that they're going to wait till the last opportunity to use the board wipes that they must have. So we're just going to pass here. They cycle an irrigated farmland. Sit in the tank for a long ass time, like all controller players do. Play their 4th Lotus Field. Sorry, well, 3rd and 1 copied Lotus Field. And they sit and consider life. They play a Strict Prospector. This is the other part of the combo that players have been using for the Lotus Field lands. We're going to use and force the opponent to discard here and take out the Samurai token. Opponent discards another land. They are now under 12 minutes. Because, like I said, they don't know how to play Magic. We will plus Kaito on the Strict Prospector, meaning it can't attack or block. Swing in with the team, put it down to 8. Bounce the Wandering Mind, -2. In response to -2, they discontinuity. They play another land. And sit in the tank thinking, this is my issue, right? You've got 2 spells and 1 Memory Deluge. You did not need to think that long about doing it. We'll plus Kaito again on the Strict Prospector. Swing in with the drone here. We could go for the bounce. We could go for the bounce to get 2 more damage here. But I think it's better that if we just hold back. Because right now, it's guaranteed damage if they can't. They'll have to, use their ability. I find the Vanishing Verse here to pass. We'll wait for our opponent now. They Memory Deluge in the end step. Looking for 2 cards here. So we literally have, the way things are right now, we have lethal. Because we have 4 damage on the table and 2 if we Kaito bounce the drone back to our hand. So our opponent needs to either board wipe immediately or deploy enough to block us. So yeah, this is where we get a bit of a wait here because a control player has to try to figure out how creatures work. Can I block? Will this make me a token? Duh. Oh look, a Strict Prospector. Right, so they play a Shark Typhoon and a Strict Prospector. So I'm going to use Vanishing Verse on the Shark Typhoon here, force them to use their last interaction, which is to change the equation. So in response to that, I'm going to Assassin's Trophy one of the Skirk Prospectors. So we need just 1 removal spell now and Kaito can hit the block, which is perfect. We find a Vanishing Verse, so Vanishing Verse the other Skirk Prospector, plus Kaito on the Shark, swing in, give them a disrespectful good game for taking so bloody long, and move on to our next match. Next match we have Smelly Tunic. You gotta love these names. And I respect Baldur's Gate free icons. This hand is a turn 2 Leyline Binding, turn 3 Fable, so yes, we're going to keep it. Sorry, not a turn 2 Binding. We need green, but they play a blue-black land. We'll play a Trio. Our opponent goes for the Thoughtseize. At this point, this is my 3rd or 4th game of Control, and I'm just checked out. So we're going to shock in here to hold up the Leyline Binding, or the Kolaghan's Command, depending on what they do. They go for the Thoughtseize, so we'll Growth Spiral in response. We'll play a Jetmir's Garden. Blue-black potentially means control or rogues. They take the Supreme Verdict, which makes me think this must be rogues, because a control deck would not care about a board wipe. We pass, and I'm going to go with the Deploy Niv-Mizzet, see if they have answer to it. They don't, so we'll reload here.
Reload!
This must be super frustrating for our opponent, because they literally just got rid of 3 cards and we get back up to a ton of cards. They flash in a Soaring Fort Thief in the end step, play a land, play Sheoldred. I'm going to set a stop before we draw here so we can Leyline Binding the Sheoldred before we take any damage. I'm going to attack in with the Niv-Mizzet, see if they block, if they want to trade. They do. So we will then deploy the Wandering Mind here, dig for another card. We'll take the Tyrant Scorn for the same interaction of bouncing our creature or destroying something if we have to. Opponent just passes, which is interesting, so we'll swing in. We've got 8 here. Flash in a Fairy Mastermind. Block on Niv-Mizzet, they're down to 14. I'm happy to just cast, I've got to play this game at instant speed. They flash in a Kaito Suzuki. They draw and discard a card. They have a second Kaito in hand, so end step we'll flash in a Growth Spiral. I'm going to choose to keep this in untapped just in case we need to respond to anything crazy, so let's make them discard and do 2 damage, limit their options. Puts them down to 1 card in hand. We swing in with our team an 8, put him down to 4. Our opponent goes for a Drown in the Loch, so we'll bounce Niv to save him. They respond with a Sheoldred's Edict. I consider, but I decide against it. So what I'm going to do is stop the Kaito, bounce Niv back to hand. Our opponent loots with no cards in hand, so they just have to discard it. We redeploy Niv-Mizzet. We draw another 5 cards here, and our opponent just concedes because we've basically outvalued them at this point. Right, control matchup, so we want vetoes, we want everything in here. This is a hybrid control, like tempo matchup, so we need the pushes, we need the Thoughtseizes, we don't need Invasion of Urgamons. Kaito can come out here. Kaito was amazing in our last matchup. We'll go down our Clarion for 1 Wandering Mind, and I decide against maybe 1 push left. I'm trying to anticipate if they go heavier control or heavier aggro. This hand is very sensitive to Thoughtseize, but we do have all 5 colours, which is probably the most important thing here. So the immediate Thoughtseize takes the Fable. We drew our second Leyline Binding, so we're good for threats at the moment. They play a Merfolk. We'll play a Shocking Overgrown too. And after some consideration, I decided it's probably just better to flash this in now. Take away the Merfolk, just keep their board clear. They pass back to us. We shock in, deploy a Wandering Mind. They have a Mystical Dispute for that. They play a Kaito Suzuki. They make a Ninja with him. We put Yorion into hand, and I get enraged with the Auto Tapper for tapping the 1 white source when we only had 1 spell in hand that was white. There was no reason for them to untap. I got so mad at that point. I was screaming at the Auto Tapper. They flash in the Fairy Mastermind, so we're going to Leyline Binding here. We'll take out the Kaitos because that's the card advantage engine gone. They swing in here, do some damage. We get milled. We top deck a Clarion here. So we've got to set up the Clarion and Veto here. They've got 2 cards in hand. If they're 2 counter spells, we're just done for. So let's try for a Clarion. They do have a Drown in the Loch, so in response to the Drown in the Loch, we will veto that. We take that out. The opponent passes back to us. We try to deploy a Yorion here. They have another Drown in the Loch to counter that. We have an Assassin's Trophy for any threat they might deploy. They throw out the Fairy Mastermind. We Assassin's Trophy it. Now we're playing Top Deck Wars. We get a Vanishing Verse and pass. They draw, play a land and pass. We hold the land to make them think we got 2 spells in hand. They pass back. We play our non-Triumph land because we can still cycle that in their end step if we need to, which we will. We find another one, so we'll cycle that one too. We find a Wandering Mind, so we can cast the Wandering Mind here. They have Mystical Dispute. I will pay for Mystical Dispute because I can still use a Vanishing Verse. Find the Fable of the Mirror Breaker, pass the turn. Opponent does nothing here. So we play another land here. We'll swing in with our Wandering Mind. Deploy our Fable, see if it resolves, which it does. We pass back. Opponent plays a land, passes back. We're going to loot away our land to find the exact same land again. Play it for no reason, because I guess Arena wants us to. Swing in, they're down to 12. They play another land here and pass. We'll thin out our deck. We need to grab another red source because we apparently only had 1 red in that entire thing. We get a Reflections of Kiki-Jiki here. They deploy, they have Go for the Throat to kill it immediately. So we're going to swing in, put them down to 8. Right, wait till their turn. They have 1 card in hand, so in response to the Castle Lothwain, we're going to Cosmic Rebirth the Fable of Kiki-Jiki. Fable of the Mirror Breaker, sorry. So they are on 6 now, so they will die if they can't deal with this. We pass. We've got a perfect hand to finish them off, so we'll swing in. They flash in a Soaring Fort Thief, so first things first, I'm going to Mystical Dispute, make them pay for that. Fort Thief comes in, we'll flash in a Leyline Binding and exile it to swing in for lethal. Pretty decent. This final matchup, we got a Boggles variant, which was very sick and very interesting, but ultimately we just got hosed in games 2 and 3, so I'm not going to say much about this. This was a good set running wise. They literally deploy hexproof threats and just pumped it up and just did a ton of damage. And said truth was, we just really failed to find anything substantial. Like here they get the Angelic Fire in, and because we don't have an untapped land on turn 3, we still just get KO'd and died. So yeah, this was yeah, you can watch the rest of this match if you want, but thanks for viewing the video. Hope you enjoyed it.
Reload!